This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, council, I need a mover and a seconder to open the meeting, please.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
And seconded by Belinda. Thank you. Moved by John Paroff, seconded by Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that we do call this regular meeting of council to order on Wednesday, April 15th, 2020 at 6 p.m. All in favor? Any opposed? There being none, carried. Okay, moving on, review and note of any change in the agenda. There being none, can we have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda? Mover, please.
I'll
Peter?
move.
Seconder, please. John, thank you. Moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by John Paroff. Be it resolved that council does hereby approve the agenda as presented. All in favor? Okay, I lost Drago.
Yeah,
So did I.
So did I.
I
It's done.
assume he's going to call in and maybe doesn't realize he can do both.
Okay. Well, we can carry that one because we do have quorum. Just as always, council, disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof, and declaration of council of conflict of interest can be declared now or any time throughout the meeting. And I want to just give a couple of seconds here, or a minute for Drago to get back on board. Do we have anyone that can text? Does he text? No, eh?
I can call his home number if you like.
Sure. Is it, maybe he's trying to call in though? Okay, it looks like Gail has him on the phone there. We can move forward with 5.1, regular council meeting minutes. If I can get a mover and a seconder for that, please.
I'll move it.
Okay. Moved by Belinda Kistemaker. And
I'll
a
second it.
second by John Paroff. Okay, moved by Belinda Kistemaker, second by John Paroff. Be it resolved that the Council Corporation of the Township of Hornpain does hereby adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, April the 1st, 2020 as distributed. Any discussion on that? I do want to say thank you, John, for chairing the meeting. I watched the video and you guys did a really good job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John. See,
All in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? Carried.
So Drago is trying to sign back in on the computer. He got kicked off, and if he can't get on there, he'll call in.
Okay. Did he say anything about the agenda or what he wanted to speak to, or we'll just carry on till he?
Yeah, just carry on. Just carry on.
Okay. Okay, moving on, item or number 6, business arising from the minutes. Is there any business arising from the minutes? There being none, we'll carry on. 7, there's no deputations, presentation, tender awards, or open discussions. 8, there's no petitions. 9, there's no disbursements. 10, we're at managers' reports. Just to open this section, I need a mover and a seconder about the managers' reports. Peter,
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
And the motion is moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Cornfane does hereby acknowledge receipt of the manager's reports provided at the regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, April 15th, 2020. And we'll begin with Gail.
So the only other thing I wanted to add that I'm finding this week is with all the meetings and the phone calls is I'm having a hard time following up, doing the follow-up from the meetings after before the next one comes along. So I think we're probably all feeling that. We're doing the best that we can and trying to keep things on schedule, but it's a little bit tough. It just seems to be really busy. I'm hoping it's going to, once we get into this new normal sort of thing, I'm hoping that the emails will slow down a bit and the meetings will become more regular. But we are persevering and we're doing the best we can. So I can answer any questions you have on anything I forgot to touch on or.
Okay, you all have Gail's report, and welcome back, Greg. And I can't hear you, Drago. Try again. Can you hear us, Drago? Oh, geez. Oh, there we go. We have a caller. Are you on the phone now, Drago?
Yeah, but I can't hear anybody when we're talking, Cheryl.
You can't hear anyone that's talking.
I can just hear you. When I was at about 2.5 minutes, I can't hear anyone at all, and your speakers are on. I could see your Peter's on, Belinda's on, John's is on. I can't hear anybody.
Okay, let's do a test right now. Peter, can you speak, please?
Hello, Drago.
Okay, yeah, now I can.
Okay, go ahead.
No, it's fine. Forget it. We'll do it.
Okay. So you can,
Can you put it there, please?
we'll give you a second. Are you able to put that phone on speaker, Drago? Your
No.
head? No? Okay. And you're okay to carry on that way?
I suppose.
Okay. We just were discussing Gail's report, or we hadn't discussed it. Gail just updated us that there's many meetings going on, and there's tremendous difficulty to even do the follow-up after meetings have ended. And hoping that in the coming week, some of that will subside as we embrace this new normal that's come on. So I open the floor up to questions for Gail. If there's any questions, please direct them through me, please.
Are you referring to Gail's report?
Yes, I am, Drago.
Yeah. Through you, Mayor, to the CAO, Mayor Ford and I will be meeting with CN to discuss sanitation protocols. Can you expand on that, Gail, please?
Actually, probably Mayor Fort would be able to speak to that better if you don't mind.
This morning. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We basically, I have actually talked to CN again today, emailed them again today. We had several complaints and that coming in, and of course I directed them to contact CN themselves, but from our end, trying to make sure that CN setting up their procedures and protocols and seeing any way that the town can assist in that and reaching out to the business. That meeting hasn't happened yet. But I want to say that anything that we have brought up with CN, they have resolved it within a day or two, or had some feedback.
So you're saying, Madam Mayor, that the CN doesn't have a protocol within their own system to handle their own problems. That's what you're telling me then.
Nope, that's not what I'm telling you. No.
Please explain again. I don't
They,
understand.
after our Facebook Live, there was people that were concerned about, we had some concerns about cleanliness and locomotives and that. And they reached out to me, and they also, CN gave me a letter that I provided to them that they could reach out to. They have a COVID-19 multi-faceted plan and a whole group taking care of it. And they've dedicated part of their website. I think right now it's a misunderstanding of information and where people can direct their comments to, but we figured that out today. And so one of the questions we asked today, and I'm waiting for a response back, was about screening measures, because across the country, apparently they have 6 areas they're doing screening of their employees before they go to work. And that's the only thing I'm waiting up for follow-up right now. And yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Gail's report? I had one question for you, Gail. Was I'm sticking on your prediction of 4th wave is, it's in your second, the last paragraph of your second, or the last sentence of your second paragraph, I'm sorry. It just says there's predictions that there's a 4th wave of the pandemic. I'm just wondering where that is from. I haven't heard that.
That I got in my CAO's meeting with the across the province, and I don't know exactly where it's from, but this is what they're calling it, as a mental health wave, where the people are going to start feeling the effects of, maybe financial crunch, or just the effects of the stress over this period. So there may be some PTSD and some depression or anxiety that may come out afterwards. And they were talking about having municipalities try, or not just municipalities, but communities and hospitals and everybody try to prepare for that ahead of time, because this is what they're predicting is coming.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions for Gail? No? Okay, then we'll carry on. Thank you, Gail. And we have Melissa for our treasurer's report. Do you want to speak to anything on it first, Melissa?
The only thing that I want to add is I did some research on all of the programs that are out there, and the only one that I've listed on there that the municipalities qualify for is the WSIB deferral, and they said if we can afford it, to keep on going with the payments, because it's not a relief, it's a deferral program.
Sorry, I didn't shut my phone off. It's off now. Okay, questions for Melissa?
Madam Mayor, I have a question for Melissa.
Yes, go ahead, John.
Thank you. Melissa, in your report, you identified one of the things, a new tax credit for businesses in affected regions. Can you expand, or do you know any other information on that?
No, I don't have any further information, but I can research it for you and get back to you.
Please do, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions for Melissa at this time? No? Okay, there being none. Thank you, Melissa. And we'll move on. And we have the Public Works Manager, Dwayne Goodrow. Would you like to speak to your report first? Oh, go ahead.
Sure. The last one there, I have the locates, we had a problem with our locates. We submitted them. They had to be resubmitted. The last one should be done tomorrow on 6th Avenue. For details, the last one I'm waiting on.
Can I just ask what the nature of the problem was? Because I know we've had an issue before with locates. Is it was it related to training of the person applying?
The person who submitted it did an incorrect entry on the submission, and it got rejected. But then we figured it out. We resubmitted again, and it took another week for it to go through.
Yes, okay. Okay, I'm going to open it up for questions for the Public Works Manager, the council. Go ahead, Drago.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I like your second last paragraph, Dwayne, where you're being proactive and you have a list of temporary employees if you have a major emergency. Good planning, Dwayne.
Thank you.
Is that everything, Drago? Okay. Anyone else? I just had one question, Dwayne, about the repairs that are coming up to the water line. Is that a full day repairs, or are we going to bank that with other repairs?
We have other locations. We're still looking for the turnoff standpipes, so we'll probably include a couple of them in there at the same time if we can.
Okay. Is there a prioritized list of how we're going to approach the repairs, or is it go by priority and time, or?
Basically, it's always priority and time.
Yeah, okay. Are there any other questions for the Public Works Manager? Okay, there being none, we'll move on. And we have the Economic Development Officer, Stacey Rendell. Stacey, let's speak to your report first.
No. I'll answer any questions if anyone has any.
Okay, do we have any questions for Stacey? Doesn't look like there's any, Stacey. I just had a couple of comments. Underneath the HEDC meeting being canceled, and the next one's May 5th, are we looking at assisting by electronics, or if
I haven't heard anything about that yet, Cheryl.
Okay.
I assume that it would be electronic.
If they're capable, like electronic and audio, I guess, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, one of the other things I wanted to bring up, I thought I would just leave it right at the end, if anyone, are we accounting for all our expenses? I wasn't sure who this would be directed to for our COVID expenses. Yes, is it Melissa?
You're muted. Melissa, you're muted.
Yeah, we are, Cheryl.
Okay, great. And I just wanted to say too that Gail and I discussed that in Stacey's report, she talks about the departmental work plans and just about how that's on our SR, and under this time it's so stressful, and I congratulate you on getting that on the go. And it's a stressful time, but I think that might lessen the stress if we know how much time people have and where it's allocated. So that's all I have. Is there anything else for the Economic Development Officer? Okay, there being none, we'll move on. Oh, sorry. Nope. Okay. Okay, so the motion, the resolution was moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation, the Township of Hornpain does acknowledge receipt of the manager's reports provided at the regular meeting of Council held on Wednesday, April 15, 2020. All in favor? Peter, are you in favor?
Yeah, oh, you guys, you blinked out on me.
Oh, okay. Any opposed?
It's cutting in and out.
Okay.
It's,
There-
yeah,
Are you having technical problems too, Belinda?
yeah, it's going in and out.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on. If it gets really bad, Belinda and Pete, maybe just raise your hand during that time. Are you getting the most of the meeting to participate?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think actually you're cutting in and out a bit, Cheryl.
I'm
some
cutting in and out a bit. Okay, have I cut in and out a bit before?
I just noticed it this last time.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an audio problem there.
Not a problem with me.
No, it's probably with the internet, because I hear it from everybody.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, let's continue on. And we're at correspondence action 11.1. And you see it's the Ontario Clean Water Agency. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please.
I'll move it.
Thank
I'll
you, John.
second.
Thank you, Peter. Moved by John Paroff, second by Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation, the Township of Hornpain does hereby acknowledge receipt of the Ontario Clean Water Agency, AQUA, 2019 Annual Summary Report for the Hornpain Drinking Water System. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. I'm sorry, I went pretty fast there. Did anyone want to speak to that? That's my apology there. Okay, there being none, we'll move on then. My apologies, Council. 11.2 Northeastern Ontario Municipal Association, NEOMA. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please.
I move it, Cheryl. Madam Chair, Mayor.
Thank you, Drago.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Belinda. Moved by Drago Stefanik, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Whereas the Council has received the resolution requesting the support of the daily passenger train service to and from Cochrane and Moosonee. And whereas the train service known as the Polar Bear Express serves both as a passenger and cargo train that has represented the lifeline of the Lower James Bay region since its introduction in 1964. And whereas passenger rail service is the primary means of transportation for people, personal, freight, and mail to Moosonee and the communities located on Moose Factory Island. And whereas daily passenger rail service is paramount as regular scheduled flights are unaffordable for many students, seniors, and low-income families. And whereas there are a number of economic, environmental, practical, social, and health factors that contribute to the importance of daily and reliable passenger train service for the community. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation, the Township of Hornpain, does hereby support the Northeastern Ontario Municipal Association's resolution number 2020-6, recommending the province of Ontario to reinstate the daily passenger train services to and from Cochrane and Moosonee. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution will be sent to the Minister of Transportation, the Minister of Indigenous Affairs, the Minister of Health, the Minister of Colleges and Universities, the Minister of Energy, Northern Development and Mines, the Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, the Minister of Tourism, Culture and Sport for their consideration, and to the Northeastern Ontario Municipal Association. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Moving on to 11.3, Town of Midland correspondence. If I can get a mover, please.
I'll move it.
Moved by John Peroff. And seconded by Peter Kistemaker. Moved by John Peroff, second by Peter Kistemaker. Whereas the council has received a request for support from the town of Midland, seeking support and assistance from the federal government in relation to COVID-19 and 2020 municipal property taxes. And whereas council recognizes the financial strain imposed on many residents due to layoffs, illnesses, and other mitigating circumstances caused by this global pandemic. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation, the Township of Hornpain, does hereby agree to send a letter to the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Minister of Canada, urging him to direct the payment of federal funds to municipalities to waive property taxes for the year 2020 to alleviate the hardship resulting from COVID-19 pandemic. Be it further resolved that a copy of the letter be forwarded to the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, Carol Hughes, MP, Algoma, Manitoulin, and Kapuskasing, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario for their support, as well as to the town of Midland. Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Okay, the last item is 11.4, and I'll hand this over to Gail if I don't have any document on it, besides what council has.
So what happened with that was on the weekend, I was in discussion with Owen Cranny because he had reached out to me saying that he thought this issue had been resolved. And I didn't get confirmation prior to that until today. And he actually just sent me an email just after 4, and it says that it's from the Ontario, can't remember what it's called, Fire Chiefs Association, I think it's called. And it's in response to the concerns. We wrote a letter to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the federal government requesting that the CERB and EI immediately be expanded to provide full coverage for Ontario's and Canada's volunteer firefighters until the COVID-19 crisis is over. And earlier today, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced changes to those eligible to allow people to earn up to $1,000 per month while collecting the CERB. So that issue seems to have been resolved, at least for the time being.
Thank you for that, Gail. Did anyone have any questions for Gail on that? No? Okay, then we'll carry on to correspondence information only. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please.
I move it. Thank you.
Thank you, Drago. And a seconder, please. Belinda, thank you. Oh my goodness, I got phones ringing here. My apologies. Okay, moved by Drago Stepanek, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Corporation, the Township of Hornpain, does hereby acknowledge receipt of the correspondence information only package attached with the agenda at the regular council held on Wednesday, April 15th, 2020. And I open that up if anyone wants to speak to any of the section. Somebody's close to the train. Or anyone that wants to speak to any of the section of information only correspondence? No? Okay, all in favor of the motion? Opposed? Carried. You know, I'm going to ask Peter, would you try turning your mic off? And you'll have to remember to turn it back on. That might, did that clear up some of the back feedback? A little bit? Okay. Okay, moving on to 13 donations, there being none. 14 conference seminars, training, none. Committee reports, there are none. And moving on to 16, news and other business. 16.1, COVID-19 update. Did you want me to do this, Gail?
It's up to you. If you want to start, I can fill in, or
Well, you can go ahead. I have a bigger update for the CCG, but they kind of go together. So
yeah. Okay, so we since the last meeting, we had put out the which you've seen, the regional mayors group announcement or bulletin, as well as an update we put out on Thursday at the end of the day, just before the long weekend, encouraging people to refrain from non-essential travel and respecting the two biggest issues that we were finding that came out of our meetings were non-essential travel and not respecting some of the few people not respecting some of the business protocols. And that puts a lot of stress on the staff. And if we lose the staff at some of these businesses, we won't have the businesses to use. So that would be detrimental for any of them, but particularly the grocery store. So hopefully that has gotten through. I just can't find my notes right at the moment. Hang on a second. What else we've done? Oh, I know what I was going to say. We're going to order some signage saying to respect the health protocols, and the other ones are distancing signs. So part of what, and I haven't talked to Stacey about this yet, but part of what I'd like her to cover with the businesses is if they would be interested in having signs. We're going to order some anyway for our own purposes, but I think that might help reinforce it if people see those things before they go into the buildings. And we're going to put some up at the landfill site as well, so that hopefully only, sort of remember to distance and only one person dumping at a time, sort of thing. Lots of updates with ministry personnel, and I know Shanna's been participating in the media advisories from the health unit. I didn't participate in the one on yesterday, but they're always a good source of information. Just keeping up our protocols in the office and at Public Works with sanitation and being careful using gloves, distancing. We're trying not to run into each other. I don't know, Dwayne, if you have any other issues or things you want to report that you're doing at the Public Works that's different from last week.
Yeah, no, the same protocols are still in place, still cleaning the machines and sanitizing themselves and staying away from people. And the public approaches them to redirect them to me if they have to.
Okay. And then we also had talked about the contingency plan for staffing and the priority list for clearing roads, which of course then we got 60+ centimeters of snow. So I think that's it that I can think of, unless Cheryl, you can add anything, or Melissa?
no, the only thing I could say is just in regard to COVID-19 was there was a release out from White Sands First Nation, which is adjacent to Armstrong. And I want to thank both Melissa and Gail for alerting me to that. And I have been in contact, and it kind of spurred me on to make sure that all of the communities that our community could possibly be in connection with through workers and that, to reach out and start making some connections. So I want to really thank Melissa and Gail on that. And it was good to reach out and find out more about that. And I updated the community control group meeting this morning about that. So that's the only thing I want to add for COVID.
I mean, certainly if there's any questions from anybody, we'll take them.
Do we have any questions? Okay, there being none, we'll move on to the CPG update. 16.2. So I could start, Gail, and then you can carry on. So I want to thank our businesses that have remained open during the emergency in our community, and for those businesses that are allowed. They're providing essential services to our community, and all the different food providers and all of that working together. I also want to say this because in our mayor's group meeting last week, we talked about some communities are not, they've had some issues with their gas stations opening and some issues with their grocery stores. So I think on a whole, we've been good that way, and I'd like to see more continued support for our businesses any way we can. I have continued to receive questions, and I want to thank all the citizens that have submitted them for the Facebook Live about our emergency in our community and how to protect themselves and what we're doing. I have pretty much got responses for all the questions so far. I want to say too, and this is for council and the community control group, that I've had several phone conversations and emails from residents just with kind comments and appreciation for all of our hard work. And first of all, to the citizens who submitted those, thank you. It's appreciated, and everyone's under a lot of stress and strain right now, so it's kind words, and I want to extend those all out to the CCG members and all of council as well. And last week, I read Hazel McCallion's book, and she did 12 terms as mayor for the city of Mississauga. And her advice was always to put people first. And I'm glad to say that's definitely where my mind's been at in our community control group meetings, and steering them that way on how we can best protect our citizens. And this is reiterating from the COVID-19 of reaching out to other communities. So I did reach out to Armstrong Sioux account, and I'll be reaching, and I have reached out to all of our immediate area as well previous to that. I am hopeful to be part of the business electronic meeting if that can get set up in the next week or so. And at the CCG, we just to help with that, this is our first declared emergency for our community, and to try and lead that group and to be a part of that group and to instill the supports we need for our community, I have participated in several webinars and some leadership training over the last 2 weeks. And again, I can't say enough to thank all the community group members and for their support. We've had faithful support on all of the calls and lots of good ideas from and giving us updates on what's been happening. And I feel like on a whole, Hornpain is dealing with this emergency with a very level head and a proactive approach. And I do put that out there from the beginning, that we are looking to alleviate stress for citizens, put in protocols that are proactive. And again, if there's anything from community members or council, that we take those to the group and find out if we can do anything with them. So if council has any questions, I'll wait till Gail's finished her review of the meeting as well.
Okay, so just wanted to highlight a few things that goes along with what you were saying, that with foreign pain being repaired, I feel the hospital is very well prepared. They have assessment center up and running that opened today. So of course you would have to call in to the hospital before going up to have a pre-screening, but they are doing testing. Sorry, I'm just skipping over the things that you've already touched on, Cheryl. OPP as well. We're well staffed. I hope to have our full complement of officers by September. We have 3 right now, and I have noticed a marked increase in patrols in the last couple of weeks, so I'm happy about that. As far as the fire department is concerned, they've scrubbed the inside and the outside of the fire hall. And then just your Facebook Live, Cheryl, that you did the Saturday before last, and then just to remind people of your one coming up tomorrow night at 7. So hopefully people will tune into that.
Thank you.
Oh yes, and about mental health, we did get some posters from the health unit last week, and Shanna has put those up on our, she's made a little section for mental health resources on the website. So she's posted those there. They're resource numbers for, I believe one's for children and one's for adults, and I don't remember what the other one is at the moment. And we're going to be looking more into putting out more of a list of resources, I think, for mental health for people once we gather that information. Oh, and just to mention that the government came out with a new or updated list of symptoms for COVID-19, and you all saw that in the media release from the health unit. But I just wanted to highlight that it's now cough, fever, difficulty breathing, sore throat, hoarse voice, difficulty swallowing, loss of sense of smell or taste, fatigue, muscle aches, runny nose, loss of appetite, diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting. So all of those now, I guess they've had so many different presentations that they're, not that anybody should panic, but those are things that if they persist that you might want to check with your doctor with. So, and then just again, this morning we were at our meeting, we emphasized the importance of testing and how, I think, Cheryl, that was you that brought that up, how in other places in the world seem to be having really good results or better results with more testing that they do. So we had mentioned that at the meeting. That's all I have.
Yes, the one other thing that I wanted to mention from the meeting, actually I set this up ahead of time, was with the fire chief. We're going to do an interview about home fire plans and safety plans for people's homes, just as more people are at home now. So that hopefully will be done on Friday, and we'll release it either Friday or Saturday. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it, Gail. There's some other participants there, but not sure if we missed anything, Shannon or Melissa or Drago. No, we're good. Okay, we'll continue on then, or if there's any questions. No questions, okay. 16.3 is transfer to reserves from the 2019 budget. If I can get a mover and a seconder, and then we'll open up.
I move it, Madam Mayor.
There you go. Oh, second, I gotta get my other pen. Okay, so, moved by Drago, second by Peter. Okay, Moved by Drago Stefanik, second by Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornpain does hereby authorize the treasurer to transfer $17,682 into the library reserve from the budget 2019 budget. Any discussion on the motion? Yes, go ahead, John. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. What is that 17,000? Is that earmarked for something?
Melissa, do you want to take that, please?
No, it's not earmarked for anything. It's just a surplus from the 2019 operating budget.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll take the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Okay, moving on to 16.4, Nuclear Waste Management Organization Community Wellbeing Funds initial discussion. Yes, Gail, go ahead.
There, excuse me, there are actually 3 more resolutions for 3 different reserve transfers.
Thank you, Gail. And I went through this whole package diligently. How did I mess up already? Okay, the next transfer, mover and a seconder, is for the transfer to the water and sewer reserve. If I can get a mover, please.
I'll
John?
move it.
And seconded by, please. Peter? Okay, moved by John Perrock, seconded by Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornpain does hereby authorize the treasurer to transfer $30,000 into the water and sewer reserve from the 2019 budget. And this is also from a surplus, Melissa? Any other questions? Thank you. Any other questions? There being none, I'll take the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, and this is a transfer into the capital reserve. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Belinda Kistemaker. Seconded by John Perroff. Okay, moved by Belinda Kistemaker, seconded by John Perroff. Be it resolved, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornpain does hereby authorize the treasurer to transfer $96,165 into capital reserve from the 2018 budget. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. And I need a mover and a seconder for the last one.
I'll move it, Madam Mayor.
Moved by Drago Stefanik. Thank you, Drago. And seconded by Peter Kistemaker. Did I see your hand, Peter? Yes, okay, thank you. Okay, moved by Drago Stefanik, second by Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornpain does hereby authorize the treasurer to transfer $183,875.38 from the Community Wellbeing Reserve into the Water and Sewer Reserve in the 2019 fiscal period. Any questions on the motion? Okay, I have one. So these were earmarked dollars from the Wellbeing Reserve. and we're transferring them. Is that why we're doing that?
It's the money that we spent last year from the community well-being reserve for the demolitions and the roof repairs. But there was enough money in the operating budget to cover those expenses. So just taking it out of the community well-being and putting it into the water and sewer reserve. Actually, when Gail and I were speaking about it, we picked the water and sewer reserve as opposed to the capital reserve because we've got quite a few expenses coming down the line for the dechlorination and the electrical assessment and whatnot. So we thought that that would be the appropriate reserve to put it into.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions on that? Okay, all in favor? Peter, are you in favor? I think, Peter, can you hear me? Are you in favor? Thank you. I missed your hand there. I wasn't sure. Any opposed? There being none, carried. Okay, moving on to, now we're moving on to 15.5. I'm not sure who's going to speak to 16.5, 180 Front Street building. Is that Stacy?
Yeah, you have to go back one, Cheryl. I think you missed the NWMO Community Wellbeing Fund's initial.
Oh, I did. My apologies. Thank you. See what happens when I'm left on my own? Okay. Yes, we need to go to 16.4 and Nuclear Waste Management Organization Community Wellbeing Initial Discussion. And I will open that up for who would like to speak to that, Gail or Melissa?
Treasurer. Actually, we spoke quite a bit about this, and given the expenses we have coming up and the revenues that we're losing with, for example, the LCBO property and the appeals that we're getting in, and just the times, we thought that it'd be best to put the majority of that 700,000 into a levy stabilization reserve, so that when we have these big expenses that we can't avoid, we can supplement the tax levy a little bit, so we don't have to increase the taxes in a big way all at once. So we know we have at least two big expenses coming with wastewater, and hopefully we'll get funding or majority funding for one of them. But even if we don't, I believe that's, sorry, even if we do get the funding, it's still going to be $300,000 for our portion, and that's a legislated repair, not repair, but an upgrade that we have to do. Not that we would spend it all on that, but it could supplement. And then I also, originally when this came up, I also had spoken with my mentor about some of these things, and he didn't give me dollar amounts, but he suggested we put some aside for leverage for grants. So based on, if you look down onto the second page of that report, we've got the 3 grant applications in. And if we got the grants, we're successful in getting the grants, and if we went forward with all the projects, where there's pretty much 1.8 million there in our portion that we would have to pay for, as well as these other things that we're talking about wanting to do or having to do. We had talked about putting $10,000 a year in the 100th anniversary reserve. So we suggest that. And then we have listed a possible contribution to the hospital for consideration, and it could be contingent on them raising majority of the, or sorry, the remainder of the funds from other means before they would receive the donation. So those are just things that we kind of talked about. There's lots of things that you could put them aside for. You know, we talked about needing some sort of we talked about a tandem, but we need some sort of equipment to transfer the ash to the landfill site. Public Works only has one pickup right now. There's Northern Store, there's a number of other things. Melissa, you'll have to back me up because I don't have them written down in front of me. Well,
Yeah, I think you pretty much covered them all.
Well, feasibility study for the homework. And I know there's funding out there for some of these things, but there's always, or not always, but there's usually a municipal portion to them as well. So anyways, those are the discussions that we had, and they were quite lengthy discussions because there's so much to consider, but that's sort of to start the conversation off. So Melissa, if I missed anything, pop in.
No, I think that's about it.
I'll open up the floor to council for council discussion. Go ahead, Drago.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I read the report, I analyzed it, studied it. I think Melissa did a solid job, and I concur 100% with all the areas, all the recommendations. I know it's difficult to cover all the aspects, but I think when you did the 200 grant distributions, when you could leverage against the grants we get from provincial federal government, I like the fact it's $50,000 with the condition to the hospital for their equipment. Solid report, well done.
Thanks, Drago.
Thank you, Drago. Is there any other further comments at this time? Peter, go ahead.
Was there an amount, Gail, that was put towards the hospital donation, or was just one of the places that we could possibly put money towards?
No, it's just, excuse me, it's just one of the places we could possibly put.
Okay.
Any other questions, Peter? No? Okay. John?
Yeah, I just have a comment there. I really like the way you disperse the funds here. And it explains it quite well, because we do have some pretty major expenses coming up, and I'm glad we're putting that money towards it so it's not so hard on the taxpayers. That's all I had to say. I like the 50,000 one. I think I'd like to see the hospital do the raising of some of the funds for that. I think that's important.
Is that everything,
Thank you.
John? Thank you.
Yes.
And this is an initial discussion as well, council, so we'll be able to discuss again. It's a lot to take in at once.
Okay, I would like to look it over some more.
Okay, Belinda, for sure. My only comment is I would really like us to go through our budget process before we totally finalize everything that we're going to do, just because we might see more surprises there and as we progress. But thank you so much for the report, Melissa. Good job. I totally agree with all of council on that. And definitely helps in our decision making. I'm trying to look at you, but I'm looking at the screen, Melissa.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's my initial comments on it. Is there any other further discussion right now, council? Okay, we'll leave it at that, and it will come back to the table, but now we've got a good starting spot, and good job. Okay, so now we're moving on to 16.5, and get my agenda up, and that's Mrs. Rendell.
Yeah, so right off the bat, sorry to council, I was actually hoping to get a full report, and I have it in the makings, probably 30 pages, which you'll probably get in the next 2 days. It's just that we're trying to finalize some of the numbers. So some of the things that I looked at with the Northern Store is, I see it, Gail. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to say, Stacy put together just a summary page just at the just right before the meeting, so I emailed it to you all. If you have an opportunity to open it, it's just a kind of a brief that might help with following along with Stacy's discussion. That's all. Again, apologies for the delay. It's a much bigger undertaking than originally thought. Sorry, Stace.
That's okay. So some of the aspects that I looked at is, again, some of the usage. I did a SWOT analysis, which is in the report, not on the summary. I looked at the historical revenues versus historical expenses that are on the report. So from that numbers, the historical revenues come from the decommissioning fund we got from NOHFC and the LCBO rental revenues, which we no longer have. And the expenses, you see that the expenses from the revenues, we're right now we've come into a deficit on that building of negative $116,643. The next section, I looked at the expenses and the revenues for our current fitness facility. Our revenues were about 39. This is over the last 3 years, or 2.5 years. We brought in about $40,000. We spent about $9,000. So that'll give you an idea of what the revenues are currently. We contacted our secretary to see how many paid gym members we have right now. As of March, it was 28. The first phase of the gym plan, and I do have it outlined in the report, we have to do a structural assessment to make sure the core of the building is sound. We have 3 quotes. They're included in the report. You'll see them tomorrow. One for the washroom, one for the wall, and one for both together. That was approximately $69,000 for that. I added a contingency in there. Just
to the full report, we're going to get the full report. I'm just wondering if we should just move this to our next meeting and we have a discussion, then all of council has the numbers, and then that way it's not aggravating for you. And I thank you for all your.
That would be great. So you'll see on the second page of the email is just a list of questions. And yeah, I would like council just to look through those questions just to give us an idea, because really in putting a project plan together without a budget is nearly impossible. So just when you're reading the report, just have an eye on those questions, because we'll need those answers.
Okay, so council, that's what we'll do. We'll move that to the next meeting and we'll have a discussion there. And like Stacy said, you have page 2 of that email where you can check all those questions and prepare for the next meeting. And then I think that'll be less stress for everyone. Okay. Thank you, Stacy. And we'll move on. 16.6, deferral of provincial payments.
So I can speak to this if you want.
Sure, that would be great, Gil.
The Township of Johnson has issued letters to MPAC, to Algoma District Services Admin Board, the Health Unit, for them it's the Algoma Health Unit, and the Minister of Finance, and they're basically asking for deferral of those provincial payments while this COVID-19 is carrying on. They're not asking for a relief, they're just asking for a deferral. So we were thinking that's maybe a good idea to try and do that. And even if we have the money set aside, if we need to use it in the meantime for something else, we would have it available. So we just thought it was worth looking into. So that's where that comes from.
Okay, if I can get a mover and a seconder, and we'll council can speak to the resolution. Peter? Moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by John Paroff. Be it resolved that due to COVID-19 pandemic and the uncertainty of municipal cash flow, the Council, the Corporation, the Township of Hornpain does hereby direct staff to send correspondence to the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, Algoma District Services Administration Board, the Public Health Unit, and the Minister of Finance, Policing, requesting for deferral of payments of municipal levies. Discussion on the motion? I'm wondering, Gail, do we want to get further support from other municipalities on this?
Sure, oh, yeah, I'm on. Oh, sorry, I thought I was muted. Sure.
Okay, do we want to add that to the resolution, or?
Sure, we could forward it to, do you want to forward it to all Ontario municipalities?
Sure, we could do that. How is that, Council? Okay.
For support?
Daryl, in the resolution, can you strike out public health unit and write porcupine health unit?
Okay, thank you for that, Melissa. You can.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so I changed public to porcupine health unit. And whereas this resolution will be forwarded to all Ontario municipalities for support. Okay, any other further discussion on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Okay. Moving on to 16.7, extend deadlines for municipal services accounts. It's in your packages. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please.
I'll move it, Madam Mayor.
Okay, moved by Drago Stefanik. Seconded by Belinda Kistemaker. Okay, moved by Drago Stefanik, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Whereas the COVID-19 public health crisis is having an economic impact on the livelihood of residents and businesses in the Township of Hornpain, therefore be it resolved that the Council, the Corporation, the Township of Hornpain does hereby commit the following financial reliefs and deferral programs. 1, waiving penalty and interest charges on all accounts receivable accounts until September 30th, 2020. 2, waiving penalty and interest charges on all water and sewer accounts until September 30th, 2020. And 3, extending the deadline on all property tax accounts to April. We have 4 choices, and we can see those there. It's April 30th, June 30th, October 31st, and December 31st. Or to May 31st, July 31st, August 31st, October 31st, 2020, or May 31st, July 31st, September 30th, and November 30th, 2020. And the last choice is September 30th, October 31st, November 30th, and December 31st, 2020. Be it further resolved that Council does hereby direct the CAO clerk to make the applicable amendments to the necessary bylaws to be enacted by Council at a future date. So discussion on the motion about the dates to start. And we talked about last, it was a couple meetings ago, I believe now, about coming up with a plan for this.
Cheryl, if I could just say something. First of all, I apologize that I just only put the report for the recommendation onto the agenda at 3 o'clock today. So I imagine nobody, or maybe you did, have any time to read the actual recommendation. But with in discussions with Gail, we are recommending May 31st, July 31st, September 30th, and November 30th, which is the third choice.
Yeah, I agree.
Madam Mayor?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, John, I'm sorry.
This package that you're talking about, I don't have anything of the sort. Is it a resolution or is it like?
Yeah, it's a council resolution I have here. Just a second, I'm checking my,
It's not in my eye compass.
John, you might have to update your, not update, but reload your agenda.
yeah, I have it on mine. I have the resolution there and I do see the report.
Oh, no, mine's not. It's not even updating.
Oh, okay. So note to council, if we can put, I'll write a note to myself to ensure that we all have the right agenda package. The bumps and bruises of electronic meetings.
One thing about your list for your taxes, I hate it when we have to pay taxes December 31st. So I'm glad that there's choices without that. It's always mean at Christmas.
And you know, that was part of the reasoning, is because not only can people not afford it, but they won't get paid anyways. And also the way that because you haven't maybe had a chance to read it, the way that it's listed here is you're still charging penalty and interest for prior to 2020. So this is benefiting, as it says in the report, it's benefiting the people that are truly suffering from this issue of the pandemic now, as opposed to, you know, people from a year or two ago that this had nothing to do with it. So by waiving the penalty and deferring the payments, it kind of takes care of that without having to make a lot of adjustments in the system as well.
Madam Mayor, may I speak, please?
Yes, you can. Sorry, Drago.
Through you to the treasurer. Another very good report, Melissa. The only question I had for you was, which you just answered 2.5 minutes ago, there's different time frames that you're suggesting started May 31st, and I agree with you and Gail. I think it's the most appropriate and prudent dates that you have chosen. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the resolution? I'm in agreement with the May 31st, July 31st, September 30th, and November 30th. There's at least 2 months in between each payment.
Cheryl, if I could just add something?
Yes.
I had put in the report for option 3, should council wish to proceed with this option, it's our recommendation that we postpone the third quarter water and sewer due date to October 31st, as it normally is September 31st. So then there's not a tax installment and a water and sewer installment both due in September.
Okay.
Okay, and we could deal with that at a further date then? This was the decision of council? Any comments on that? So just to verify that, then if we have a water and sewer due in October, they'll still have a due date in December, right?
Water and sewers due March, at the end of March, June, September, and December.
Okay, so the December payment would stay the same. It would just be with moving the September one by a month. Okay. Any further comments on the motion? Okay, so in just to follow up with John. John, did you get your agenda reloaded there?
Yeah, I had to sign out and sign back in, but yes, I got it.
You do have it? Okay. So in the whole resolution that I read in its entirety already, we're looking at item 3, extending the deadline on all property tax accounts to May 31st, July 31st, September 30th, and November 30th, 2020. Is that, I'm going to put the motion onto the floor for vote. All in favor?
There we go.
Okay, any opposed? Carried. Okay, so I guess we'll move that next meeting, or in we have some time for the water and sewer. For you to bring a resolution, Melissa, or a motion?
It'll actually be part of when we pass the 2020 water and sewer bylaw. We'll just put the dates in there.
Okay, sounds good. Right on. Okay, moving on to 16.8, landfill operations.
Wayne, did you want me to speak to that, or did you want to?
You can go ahead, Gail.
Okay. So we, Dwayne and I had a meeting with Dan Sheff today, just to basically to ensure that his staff felt safe and protected, and himself during this COVID-19. So we went over the sanitation protocols that he's has in place. His workers are wearing, his workers at the transfer station are wearing gloves, and they're doing physical distancing, minimizing their interactions with the public. Dwayne actually had suggested, although the people who pick up the garbage are wearing gloves, work gloves, to insert a pair of or to don a pair of surgical gloves underneath those, so that nothing seeps through and they can dispose of those when they're done. So he thought that was a good idea. We do have some washable masks in now, so we've offered some of them to his staff. So he's going to let me know whether they feel they would like to wear those. We're going to put signage up there. He's happy with the way things are going. Doesn't think that any changes need to be made with regard to hours or anything like that. Messaging, we talked about putting out some messaging, which Dwayne and I will work on later, but just advising people to remember, even at the transfer station, to practice the physical distancing, to dump one person at a time. If somebody's there, wait till they're done before you pull up, and to just to be respectful of staff for everybody's safety, which there have been no complaints about that, but I just think it's worth mentioning. And then we'll come up with a couple of other things to put in there. One other thing that we received from, I'm just going to pull it up here, from, I always get this mixed up. The Solid Waste Association of North America has sent out some information, basically for facility operators and owners, and current messaging from the public health agencies and Public Health Agency of Canada and the US, as well as the Centers of Disease Control and occupational health and safety organizations. Right now, they are saying that municipal COVID-19 waste and regular household waste has no special precautions that are required for treatment other than your general, being careful and sanitizing yourself. They just said consider increasing the use of nonverbal communication through signage and websites, press releases, etc., which we're planning already on doing. Some of them are some places have closed their facilities, but I don't think that's an answer for us because we're afraid that people's garbage will, if they miss the pickup, there's nothing nowhere for them to place their garbage, so it may end up other than at the transfer station, or it just may build up in people's homes, and that's not good either, or outside, and it'll be dogs and bears and whatnot. So and he's comfortable and the staff is comfortable with the way things are running, so I think we should continue that. So that was about it for that. And then the only other thing that we discussed and we're bringing up tonight about landfill operations was whether to postpone the spring cleanup, what council would like to do about that. Because it's going to cause a lot of, unless there was sort of a person stationed at the entrance where the gate is letting only one vehicle in at a time, it often gets busy with people dropping stuff off, which would mean 2 staff members for Dan. At the same time, so many people are at home, they're spring cleaning, so they probably have a lot of stuff to dispose of. So anyways, we were looking for some input on what council would like to do with that. And Dwayne, did I miss anything?
Nope, I think you covered everything.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess we'll open up the floor to some discussion about the landfill. Was there any discussion, Gail, about, I know we've had some discussions with you and I about dump fees?
Yes, actually, we did bring that up. And he didn't weigh in too much, but for myself, I'm just thinking that, like, people are allowed, if they have pickup and they deliver, each household's allowed 8 bags a week, which is a lot. And the charge for a load, like a pickup truck load, is $20. And I don't really think that that's a really big fee that needs to be waived or deferred compared to, all the other expenses that people have. And it may actually even help people to conserve a little bit and reduce their garbage. So we did have the discussion, and I think we were all, the 3 of us, Dwayne, we were in agreement with just keeping things as they are.
Okay, and I think too, just letting people know that they can put 4 bags on the curbs every Tuesday, and then there's 4 bags, the option to deliver to the transfer site as well. So
yes, we could add that to the messaging.
is there any other comments about the fees first, council? That's reasonable, 8 bags a week. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In respect to the spring cleanup, I think that's the operational end of our duties, and I think with the senior management team, I would like to think to come up with a date and inform council. I don't want to be into the weeds again, and I think that's a decision by senior management team. Thank you.
So we have already chosen a date, and Dwayne, I think it's maybe the first week of June, is it not?
I think it was the first week, yes.
I'd have to look back, but we did that a few meetings ago. So it's set up to go right now.
So the concern is about whether staffing it and ensuring, just causing some chaos there maybe at the transfer site.
Yeah, just being able to control the number of people or vehicles or whatever in there at a time. You don't want 2 or 3 vehicles, because you can't see from the roadway when you're pulling in. if anyone else is dumping until you get into the site. So I think if we're gonna do that, somebody's gonna have to be at the gate, like controlling who goes in.
Go ahead, Peter, go ahead.
So Gail, if that was the case of controlling and there was someone stationed out there, the way it is now, you don't have any interaction, we could use the existing staff that's out at Sheffy's landfill right now, could we not, to fix that problem? So
Yes.
it would be at no extra cost to the township, is what I'm saying.
Would be no extra cost to us. It would be an extra cost to him.
But Dan would already be paying that employee to be out there, would he not?
Well, depends if he's gonna have somebody at the top end of it monitoring what goes in. I don't know.
Yeah, you got a point. You're right. Yes.
Just to follow up on this discussion, I'm wondering, is it feasible to make an appointment? If the attendant had a cell phone in the week ahead, you make an appointment for when you're gonna come and dump your load of garbage or make several. Do you think that's feasible too?
I think a lot of people wouldn't do it. I think a lot of people would just go out there.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea, but I think a lot of people would just either not know they had to do it or just, just not adhere to it.
Well, go ahead, Belinda.
We actually need maybe a green light, red light, so the next person goes up, something like that. They have to wait until the other person comes down. So
yeah. Well, my thoughts on it is try it, and but put maybe in the messaging if it doesn't work in the first couple of days, that if I'm not exactly sure how to manage it, but I think people are going to be home, and I already know people are cleaning things out. So go ahead, Peter.
I like your idea, Madam Mayor, and I like what Gail's saying. And if you just combine the two, have the appointment, and if they don't follow Gail, they do show up, that's fine. You give them the option at that time you can dump it at the regular prices or make an appointment. If it's well advertised, I think that would be the fairest way for everybody.
Okay, so your suggestion, Peter, is that it's by appointment only for the free dump week, and if you don't make an appointment, when you show up at the landfill, or
Correct.
You pay to dump.
Yes, because I find that when you put a monetary value on anything, people really get in line really fast.
So the only concern I have with that, and I don't disagree with the concept, is I think it's going to cause a lot of stress on the staff because people are going to take it out on them. I really do think that.
That's a good point.
Not everybody. Yep. There will be people that won't, but I can see that becoming intimidating.
Well, we're seeing it right in the grocery store now, where they're intimidating the workers that are barely making a living, and they're just getting pushed around because people want them. They're bullies, and I fully agree with what you're saying, Gail.
John, you had a comment to that?
Yeah, I really don't think calling ahead and making an appointment is going to work well. You can still have two people at the transfer site disposing their waste at a time, but if they're efficient and move out and we keep the traffic moving quickly, we shouldn't have that big of an issue. I think we should just educate people before and see what happens.
I think it's worth a try for sure. And hopefully by then, that's going to be another 2 months from now, people should be well versed in the physical distancing, and they should be doing it on their own, really.
You would hope.
I guess we can't use anyone that needs volunteer hours or something, eh?
I'm not sure, because those aren't unionized positions, so it might be a possibility.
Yeah, I think being unionized might not be a good thing.
No, and they're not though. So that might be, yeah, that might work, Belinda. Good thinking.
Gail, I think we lost Cheryl.
Oh. Can you hear us, Cheryl? Oh, I guess we'll wait a minute then until she pops back in. I'll text her just in case she doesn't realize. Oh, there she is. I can't hear you though, Cheryl.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I got bumped off. I apologize. So we were back at just trying to go as status quo with the free dump week and seeing if it would work.
And then Melinda had suggested, I don't know if you heard this or not, suggested that we could possibly use volunteers for helping out with that, say for people who need hours, volunteer hours. And I had said that they are not unionized positions, so that may work.
Okay. Is there any other direction? Is that enough direction, Gail?
I think so. Dwayne,
Okay.
yeah?
Yeah, I think so. That'll work.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. 16.9 agenda packages for public. Sorry, everything died on me here, so. Okay, we didn't have to have a resolution for this, correct? Because we can just add them.
Yes. Was there anything, Shannon, that you wanted to say to that, or?
Not really, just that it's pretty self-explanatory. Like, I think we should be doing it to all our municipalities are, and just to be transparent and open to the community, and just for the community to follow. Like, it's hard to come to a meeting and have no idea what anybody's talking about or anything like that. So just, I'll start that for the next meeting, and just a reminder that everything submitted will become public, so make sure it's as accurate as can be.
Are you nicely saying proofread your stuff?
Yes, and submit early, because now when the agenda goes out Friday, it has to go out fully Friday. Like, we can't be adding stuff up until Wednesday, because especially the public's going to be getting it as well.
Okay. Thank you, Shannon. So just a note to the public, you'll have agenda packages next meeting. Okay, moving on to council committee updates. Just raise your hand if you have update. Go ahead, Belinda.
I just wanted to bring to attention the Ngogami Forest Management Plan Stage 3 is out, where the information is up for review. I think there's already some activity going on within the community about it. Basically, what is in the plan is land between our Buttercup trails going to Government Lake, and around our Moonlight Lake area. I've been talking to our forest technician, Steve Turek, about this today, and I'm going to give Gail a call tomorrow and tell her my conversation with him, and that he'd like to schedule a meeting with the township on this. And this is the time for the town to do their homework and provide comments to the ministry on how they feel about this. Basically, they should be re-looking at those areas because they are important to the community. Can't hear any.
Yeah. Can Peter and John, can you turn your mics off? Okay, can you hear me right now?
I can hear you.
Okay. Just to follow up on that, Belinda, I did get some information. I forwarded it to Gail. We unfortunately got the information yesterday from Remigio Delcine. And so we can forward all of that information to council right away, so council has all of that. And I did ask Gail to put it on our meeting for our next agenda. And just to let people know where that was, and I'll open it up. Peter, you had a question or a comment?
Yeah, this one's geared more towards John because this is your forte. The buttercup trails that are located within the township property, which is probably 8% of them, would we not have more of a say as the township of whether the wood could be allocated for cutting as per the FMA, or does the ministry override us on something like that?
That's a question directed at John?
Yeah, because that's John's forte. He knows the rules about that better than anybody.
Okay, John, can you answer that? Are you prepared?
Yeah, well, I could speak briefly about it. The cutting rights would belong to the forest and not necessarily the town, but there should be cooperation between the two. I think on that respect, though, I think it'd be nice if the township put out something to the residents on how to get comments or give comments instead of going to the ERB. Make it easier for everybody to access that.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that anytime because it's out there in the public anyways. So we could actually make that information available on our website if that's what you'd like.
Okay, so that we can put that all up on the website. Do we want to do a media release with that it's out there?
Yes.
Yes.
Good idea.
And then I can talk about that with CFNO as well. Can we also keep it on our agenda though for next week so that all of this is in our packages, or to the next meeting? Go ahead, Belinda.
The other thing I want to bring up is during my conversations about this, I'm learning that there's a lot of things that aren't on the maps that people are like the ministry or whoever's working on this, that were not identified properly, and that's another thing that needs to be looked at to find out what is missing, so these things are mapped and are identified, so when it comes to this planning, we're not these things aren't being missed.
Okay. John, you have a comment to that?
Just a comment on that. The forest management plan is very specific on what goes on those maps, and what we've traditionally seen was on those maps is a lot of consultation with the Hornpain community and people of interest. So the maps that from previous plans had a lot of symbols and a lot of identification and features on there that didn't need to be on there, were not required. So to move forward, we do have to go back to the management team and say, can you please put these on the maps? This is better for us.
I agree, because it sounds like there's a lot missing.
Okay. Is there some place that we can get information about what should be on these maps? So we can
That's,
include our discussion for next call?
so with my discussion with Steve, we thought that we should be having the township meet with these people who are responsible for part of the planning, so they can, so there's so you can work together to make sure these things are on there and that we are both on the same page.
Okay. So my question in meeting planning, Gail, do we have room on our next meeting to have, if Steve's able to come to our meeting?
Shannon, we've got the auditors at the next meeting.
Yeah, they're on for an hour.
I think even if Gail, if you're able to make a plan to meet with these people just to find out, that would be just as great.
Well, not necessarily at a council meeting, just a meeting with township
just a meeting, just to get things rolling.
Okay, well, we can talk tomorrow when you can fill me in a bit and I get some contact information, and then we can, you know, Cheryl, if you want to be involved or whatever, that's fine. Or whoever.
Yeah, that's good. I'm still thinking if we can invite Steve to a meeting, if we have room on the second meeting, because then the township would be recorded for the town. If that's if he's available.
So
we can discuss that.
Yeah, we can take on that. Yep.
Okay. Is there anything else, Belinda, for your update?
Nope. It's just that there's an AVSAB meeting finally scheduled for May the 7th. And it's a teleconference.
Oh, okay. May the 7th. Okay, anyone else thank you, Belinda. Councilors for updates. John, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that the LCC meeting that was supposed to happen has been canceled. And as far as I understand is that they've been canceled until further notice. Doesn't give us a chance to review the FMP, but that's the way it is. And there's a Thunder Bay Municipal League meeting. It's an online video meeting. It's this weekend. Maybe Belinda could attend that or chime in for me, please.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Belinda. I guess, John, you'll get her all the information, or you have the information, everyone?
I have the information.
Okay, great. Anything else, John?
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Peter or Drago? Nothing from Peter. Drago, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. My theme this evening will be COVID-19. The latest stats for PHU region, meaning from Timmins to James Bay area, is 42 positive. On a personal note, how this all strikes home quickly. Arlene's mother, who's 91 years of age, she's at Spruce Hill Lodge in South Porcupine. Her best friend's 100 years of age. I think the average age is about 85, 86. They have one positive COVID-19. This is serious stuff. My segue to my next point. I think we as council should really seriously look at the issue of restricting non-essential travel, specifically going out for shopping to another community, going out grocery shopping, visiting friends, going for a ride. I think, and if you follow the COVID-19 case from Timmins area, it's getting closer, ladies and gentlemen, much closer than you think. I think we will have to act on it. Essentials, medical, dental, optometrist, no question. Essential services coming in. But I think this leisure stuff going out, I know it's happening. I think we've got to do something. We can't control what goes out. We don't have the funding. However, I think we set up an order system and really impress on people. We get one COVID-19 case here, I'm telling you, we're going to have major problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Drago. I think this is a question too to bring to our CCG. I have looked into this a bit about what we're allowed to restrict people and how we're allowed to restrict them. And my understanding is we're not able to restrict movement. That's a provincial legislation, and I'm just not sure what we can. I can definitely, Drago, I do hear you, like, instilling it and saying this is like a proactive measure. Citizens need to take responsibility for it. But for us actually implementing something from council, I don't think we can.
Okay, I get that. However, I think the message should be strong and very to the point. We never thought it was going to happen in Louis' mother, which is a pretty safe place. I've been there many, many times. It happened. And if it happens here, we got a major problem, Madam Mayor. Impress some people. Don't go for leisure leaving this community. Don't bring in parents or relatives into this community, because that's where the issue and problem will occur. No question.
Is there any comments from council exactly how we do that strong messaging? Go ahead, Peter. Your mic's still off, Peter. There you go.
Sorry. I agree with you 100%, Drago. And but I see it even in my own personal life where we have friends that were out socializing up until a couple of weeks ago and putting on Facebook and causing hard feelings because we're trying to stick to the rules and everybody and all it takes to, and I think the majority of people are sticking to the rules. It's just you're always going to get the few that will buck the system, and no matter how strongly you enforce it, and I keep saying this, it's human nature. When you attach a monetary value to it, so in other words, if you had somebody, if there was a $1,000 fine or a $500 fine, whatever, and there were somehow you were able to implement these charges, people would start listening. But I really believe that for every 100 people, there might be one or two that's not following it.
Thank you, Peter. Go ahead, John.
And following with that theme there, I think the longer this goes on, the harder it's going to get for people to follow that procedure. So we do have to take a hard stance, I imagine, and try and get the message through.
Yeah, I'm just not. Go ahead, Gail. Thank you,
I
John.
just wanted to bring up that at our mayor's meeting a couple of weeks ago, the people in the township people in Wawa were expressing that residents are getting concerned because outsiders are coming into their community. So people don't want they won't want us in our community, and they're you know, I know there have been some shortages in the grocery stores, but you know what? There are going to be shortages. The more people that shop in the other communities, there's going to be shortages too. I think that I don't know. I think we have to stick to our own locations and deal with what we've got, because everybody's struggling with the same thing, and that's the safest thing to do. Wawa's already feeling that, because I think they do have communities in their region that don't have grocery stores. And plus they're on the highway, and I think people whip in to get things. So it's not only people from our end, like the way we feel about people coming in and out. It's a safety thing for us, but it's also a supply issue for the towns that our people are going to. And also, we could be bringing something into those communities.
Well, I definitely have the preamble, and there's a couple of things from our CCG meeting earlier today that I'll be talking about on there, but I can definitely reiterate that on the preamble before the Facebook Live tomorrow. I'm at a loss at how much what I can do. I feel like it would be my responsibility to do something stronger. I don't exactly know what though. So I take direction, and go ahead, Peter.
Cheryl, you're doing everything you can already. I fully back you up on everything that you've done. I watched your video that you put out. It was, well, the interactive video. It was very informative. And I think it just comes down to what we're saying and what Gail and John was alluding to was as the stretches on, it's kind of a paradox, and it's a catch-22 where the longer it goes on, the more antsy people get. But the more you break the rules, the longer it's going to take to get over this. But I think as far as the mayor is concerned, you've done and are continuing to do everything that you possibly can. And I agree with you that I believe it's we have no authority to actually enforce anything. It's got to be a provincially directed thing.
Thank you, Peter. Go ahead, Gail.
Just thinking that we can try and, I mean, all we can do is try and come up with some stronger yet, professional wording with a good message and maybe something that's a little more catchy. I don't know, but I think we just have to kind of change our message a bit, because if you keep putting out the same thing, which we haven't really been doing yet, but people will stop listening to that as well. So I think we have to be a bit creative, maybe.
Yeah, I'm just thinking now, I'm wondering if Richard Borden would be open for an interview. If him and I did an interview like Miles and I are going to do, talk about it.
I bet you he would.
So just for council, Richard Borden is our OPP that sits on our CCG. I could definitely make a phone call tomorrow and we could set up a meeting similar to this and talk about ramifications and that sort of thing. And we have already, and on Facebook Live, people do know that I have called the police about gatherings over 5 and all of this maneuvering around in our community that's not essential. So we could do that. We could try that, and it's a different form of our messaging. I'm willing to do that. Okay, we'll move ahead with that. And are there any other comments? Did you have anything else, Drago?
No, thank you.
No? Okay. Okay, just with my mayoral update. So we did have the meeting of all the mayors group on April the 6th. I was really glad that we did meet. I'm trying to encourage all of the mayors groups, the Algoma District Municipal Association, and everyone to try and meet to show, and even I'm wondering what our meeting tonight would look like recorded, because it's just going to help with connectivity issues moving forward for our communities. They're essential service now, and Northern Ontario should not be forgotten. I have started 4 weeks vacation as of yesterday to help our community endure through the pandemic. I'm concerned with the increase in testing, the increase in cases, just to try and put more measures in and just do some more reading. I already talked about the information package that I received from Remigio Delcine. I thank you to our citizens and council. You'll receive that package. I will be in meetings all day tomorrow with the Good Roads Association. The Facebook Live is tomorrow evening. I encourage everyone to participate. It's at 7 p.m. I do have probably a good half an hour of questions that have been answered that I'll speak to. On Friday, I'm participating in an interview with Patricia Larkin regarding the site selection process for the NWMO. And I think Patricia reached out to everyone that had signed up for the last group session that was supposed to be done in January. So I'll have an update about that at our next council meeting. And other than that, that's all I have, unless the council has any other questions for me. Okay, there being none, I'm off the hot seat. Way we go. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next section of the meeting. 17, the resolution, bylaws, motions, notice of motions and announcements. And 21 is our closed session. So I need a mover and a seconder to close this portion of the meeting, please. Peter? And a seconder? John? I have a technical question for Gail right now. If we want to have a 5-minute break before we start closed, do we just close this portion and then reopen in 5 minutes?
Yes.
Does that work? So that
Yep.
we close now and then everyone can go for their break?
Yep.
Okay. And then you have the attachment in your email for you have to sign out and sign back into our meeting. So that you do that. Okay. So moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by John Paroff. Be it resolved that the next portion of the meeting at 7:56 p.m. be closed to the public in order to discuss a proposed or pending acquisition of land by the municipality or local board pursuant of section 239(2)(c) of the Municipal Act 2001. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Cheryl, I have a question, a technical question again for Gail. I'm
Yes,
in a dilemma here. There's no question. I have the access code. I have the password that was given to me. I have no phone number attached to that. So, because I will not be able to hear you during that time, I have the original phone number. Would that work? That I used to get into currently that I'm on. I'm baffled.
Sorry, I thought I was unmuted. I think it would be a different number. Shannon, am I correct in that? Because each meeting has its own,
Phone number as well?
well,
No, I believe the number's the same. It's because
Oh, okay.
each meeting has a specific meeting ID.
oh, the ID would be different. Okay, so
Okay.
let me
I
just
have
get
all
back
that.
on that.
But my
You
fear is if this line is not secure, that's my fear. The phone line that I have that I got into first place on my phone. That's my fear.
Well, but the second meeting will have its own ID though, right, Shannon?
I have that.
Yes,
I have that
it will, yeah.
information. I'm not sure if I could connect by this phone. That was my question. But I'll try.
Drago, are you connecting with your iPad or are you connecting with a laptop at home?
It's my personal one because the iPad did not function. Remember, I'll bring it in sooner than later now because this is ridiculous.
Yeah, just call me and I can come arrange to get it. I'm just wondering why you're not getting maybe your speakers or you have no microphone.
Yeah, I did the Facebook and everything else that worked. I did the Zoom. It does not work on this anymore. On GoToMeetings.
So I'm just looking
Might just
at
be something in your settings.
if you call the number in the information you got for the closed session
Yes,
has a different access code. So as long as you put that code in, you should be able to call in.
Okay, I'll do my best and I want to make sure it's secure. Yeah, that's my main concern.
Yeah, no, it should be because it's only for this meeting. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we're going to go into closed and everyone can have a break and then we'll open closed in 5 minutes or so once everyone's online, okay?
Okay.
Right.
So around 8:05 then.
Yes, if we can get all online.
Mm-hmm.
You're hopeful, Shannon.
We'll try. Okay.